I woke up in a hospital bed with my left leg suspended in traction. The fluorescent lights hummed a low, monotonous frequency above my head. My mother was sitting in a plastic chair with her tablet on her knee. Her reading glasses were perched low on her nose. She was not holding my hand. She was not crying. She was scrolling through a spreadsheet. Her expression was the expression of a woman who had been proven right after waiting 8 years for the evidence to arrive. "You have a spiral fracture of the femur," she said without looking up, "and a hairline crack in your pelvis. The surgeon inserted 3 titanium pins. You will walk again in 6 months if you follow the rehabilitation protocol." I licked my dry, cracked lips. "What happened?" I rasped. She set down her tablet and removed her glasses. "You attended a team-building event for Dorian's architecture firm," she said. "There was a recreational trampoline park. You were encouraged to participate despite your medical condition. You fell and landed on a metal support beam that was not properly padded. Dorian drove you to the emergency room. He told the admitting nurse you were clumsy. Then he left to take his associate director home because she was feeling shaken by the sight of your leg." The associate director. Solene. The woman Dorian had hired 6 months ago. The woman who had redesigned the office break room with a cappuccino machine and a succulent wall. The woman who had started appearing in every one of Dorian's social media posts. The woman who organized the trampoline outing because she said the team needed to blow off steam. The woman who had looked me in the eye and said, "Come on, Marin, it is just bouncing. You are not made of porcelain." She knew about my osteogenesis imperfecta. I had explained during her first week that my bones could not handle high-impact stress. She had laughed and said, "A little adrenaline is good for the skeleton." Dorian had laughed with her. And I had stepped onto the trampoline because I was tired of being the woman who ruined everyone's fun. "How long have I been here?" I asked. 3 days, my mother said. Dorian called twice. He sent hydrangeas. You were allergic to hydrangeas. The nurses removed them. I remembered the sound of my femur snapping. A deep, resonant crunch, like a boot stepping on a bag of ice. I remembered Dorian's face swimming above me, his phone pressed to his ear. But he was not calling an ambulance. He was calling Solene, who was standing 10 feet away, who was perfectly fine, who was crying in a way that seemed to require all of his attention. "I am ready," I said to my mother.
"Ready for what?" she asked. "The arrangement you have been suggesting since I turned 26. The introduction, the marriage. I am ready." My mother did not gloat. She simply picked up her tablet and made a phone call. Her voice was low and efficient. When she hung up, she looked at me with something that might have been relief. "His name is Kiernan," she said. "He's a spinal surgeon at St. Catherine's. He knows about your condition. He has read your medical file. He is willing to meet you whenever you are able to leave this bed. I have already sent you the wedding format options. Choose one. I will handle the rest." I chose the courthouse. No flowers, no bridesmaids, no white dress. Just signatures and a dinner for immediate family. Kiernan agreed immediately. The date was set for 1 month after my discharge. During the 3 weeks I spent in the hospital, I did not call Dorian. He did not call me. I saw his updates on the firm's public feed. Photos of Solene presenting concept sketches to a client, photos of Solene cutting a ribbon at a groundbreaking, a video of Solene holding a cake that read, "Congratulations on your promotion." He had promoted her while I was in traction. He had given her the senior project manager role I had been promised 3 years ago. I did not scream or throw my phone. I logged out of the account and deleted the app. When I was discharged, I went to a hotel first. I ordered room service and ate a meal I did not need to negotiate. The next morning, I took a taxi to the apartment Dorian and I had shared for 8 years. He was not there. The apartment was dark. The air smelled like Solene's perfume. I walked through the rooms with slow deliberation. I saw the espresso machine I had bought for his birthday, covered in dust. He had never used it. I saw the bookshelf I had assembled with my own hands, now full of Solene's color-coded project binders. I saw the wall where we had once pinned a map of the world. We had marked the places we would visit when the firm was stable. The map was gone. In its place was a framed photograph of Dorian and Solene at an industry dinner. They were holding champagne flutes and laughing. My femur was still knitting itself back together while they laughed. I went to the bedroom. I opened the closet, his suits arranged by color, a new section of dresses and blouses that did not belong to me. I pulled out my suitcase. I opened the drawer where I kept my personal documents. Beneath the tax returns and the expired passport was a small wooden box. Inside the box was a promise ring. Dorian had given it to me on our 2nd anniversary. He had said it was a placeholder. He had said the real ring was coming soon. He had said a lot of things. I left the ring on his pillow. I did not leave a note. Downstairs, the building superintendent was hosing down the sidewalk. He saw my suitcase. "Moving out, Miss Marin?" he asked. "Yes," I said. "For good." He nodded slowly. "Good for you," he said. "That new woman parks in the loading zone every single day." 2 days before the wedding, Kiernan met me for coffee. We sat in a quiet cafe near the hospital. He was tall and lean, with hands that looked like they could rebuild a human spine with precision. His eyes were the color of steeped tea. His voice was calm and unhurried. I asked him why he had agreed to an arranged marriage. He stirred his coffee for a long moment. "I have spent my entire adult life inside operating rooms," he said. "I have seen what happens when people ignore structural weaknesses. The spine compensates for a damaged disc. The adjacent vertebrae take on extra load. The muscles tighten to protect the injured area. And over time, the entire system collapses. Not because of the original injury, but because no one addressed it honestly." He paused. "I wanted a partner who understood the value of a strong foundation. Your mother sent me your medical file. I read about your condition. I also read about your career. You managed a 20-person firm while earning a certification in sustainable urban design. You did this while managing a chronic skeletal disorder and a partner who apparently did not know what titanium allergies were. I also know you were allergic to hydrangeas and lilies. I asked the cafe to remove their centerpiece before you arrived." I looked at the empty space on the table where a small vase had clearly been sitting moments before. I laughed. It was the first genuine laugh I had produced in months. "You did your research," I said. "It is the bare minimum," he said.
And I find it unacceptable that you seem surprised by it. I looked down at my coffee. He had ordered me a decaf oat milk latte. He remembered caffeine could interfere with my calcium absorption. He remembered I was lactose intolerant. The bare minimum. No one had ever given me the bare minimum before. We were married on a Thursday afternoon in a courthouse with limestone walls. My mother wore a navy suit and did not cry. Kiernan's parents were both doctors who had emigrated from Dublin. His mother embraced me carefully, mindful of my healing leg. His father shook my hand and said, "Welcome to the family. We will not meddle, but if you ever need a second opinion on an x-ray, you know where to find us." The ceremony took 11 minutes. Kiernan turned to me and took my hands. His grip was warm and steady. "Marin," he said, "I do not know you well yet, but I know enough. I know you are someone who has been asked to carry too much for too long without acknowledgement. I know you have been made to feel like a burden when you were actually the foundation. I want to spend the rest of my life learning everything else about you. I want to be the person who remembers the things that matter. Your allergies, your medications, your dreams. All of it. I will not forget." I blinked hard. "I do not have a speech prepared," I said. "I did not expect to need one." Kiernan smiled. "You do not need a speech," he said. "Just say yes." I said yes. That evening, Kiernan carried my suitcase into his home. It was a modern 3-story house with views of the bay. And an elevator. An elevator! I stared at it. "I had the architect install it 3 weeks ago," he said. "The master suite is on the 2nd floor. I thought you might prefer not to climb stairs while your leg recovers. I thought you could have the master suite. I will take the guest suite across the hall. There is no rush, Marin. We have decades." I stood in the hallway listening to the quiet hum of the elevator. I thought about the apartment I had just left, the 5th floor walk-up. Dorian had insisted the stairs were good for my bones. He had said they built density. He was an architect. He knew the load-bearing capacity of every material on Earth. He never once considered mine. The master suite was twice the size of my old bedroom. The windows faced west toward the bay. There was a bathroom with a 0-entry shower and grab bars integrated so seamlessly, they looked like architectural details. On the nightstand was a handwritten card. "Welcome home. There is a kettle in the kitchen for tea. I take my coffee black, but I bought oat milk for you. It is in the refrigerator. Rest well. Kiernan." I sat on the edge of the bed and read the card 3 times. Then I placed it in the nightstand drawer. I wanted to keep it. The 3 months that followed were the most peaceful of my life. My leg healed. The titanium pins settled into my marrow. I graduated from wheelchair to walker to cane. I began walking unassisted. I began sleeping through the night. I began designing again. Kiernan converted a spare room into a drafting studio. He installed a large format printer and a drafting table with an adjustable angle. He brought me samples of sustainable bamboo composite and recycled glass aggregate. He asked me questions about my work. Real questions. He wanted to know why I preferred passive solar orientation. He wanted to know how I calculated thermal mass. He wanted to know what I thought about the future of accessible public space design. He wanted to know me. One evening, we were sitting on the roof terrace watching the city lights flicker on. Kiernan was sketching a spinal fusion technique on a napkin. I pointed to a junction and asked if he had considered a different angle of approach. He stared at the napkin for a full minute. Then he looked at me. "You just solved a problem I have been wrestling with for 6 months," he said. His voice was quiet with wonder. "You are not just a designer of buildings. You are a designer of solutions." He leaned across the table and kissed my forehead. It was the gentlest gesture I had ever received. Meanwhile, 800 miles away, Dorian Voss was discovering that a firm does not run itself. He had never realized how much I managed. Payroll, scheduling, vendor negotiations, client mediation, zoning board applications, permit renewals, deadline tracking, accounts receivable, insurance compliance, everything. Solene was excellent at taking credit for finished projects. She was terrible at finishing them.
Without me to clean up her errors, the firm began to hemorrhage. A major client pulled out of a $30 million deal after Solene failed to file the environmental impact assessment on time. 2 senior engineers resigned, citing a toxic work environment. The professional liability insurance premium tripled after a construction defect lawsuit. Dorian started calling me. He left voicemails. At first, casual. "Hey, Marin, just checking in." Then frustrated. "Where are you? I cannot find the accounts receivable spreadsheet." Then desperate. "Please, I do not know what I am doing. The firm is falling apart. I think Solene deleted something in the shared drive. Please, just call me back." I did not call him back. I had changed my number. 6 months after the wedding, Kiernan and I attended a healthcare architecture symposium at a convention center downtown. I was a panelist. I spoke about designing accessible public spaces for people with mobility impairments. The audience applauded. After the panel, a man approached me with a distinguished silver beard and an expensive watch. "Dr. Sterling," he said, "your designs for the outpatient wing were remarkable. My firm is bidding on a new pediatric hospital project. I would love to discuss a collaboration." I handed him my business card. It said Marin Sterling, Principal Architect, Sterling Adaptive Design. Kiernan appeared at my elbow with a glass of sparkling water. He had been watching from the back of the room. "You were brilliant," he said. "You always say that," I said. "Because it is always true," he said. We walked toward the main exhibition hall. And that was when I saw Dorian. He was standing near a medical equipment supplier booth. He looked terrible. His suit was wrinkled, his hair was unkempt, his eyes were tired and red-rimmed. Beside him was Solene. She was wearing a dress far too formal for a trade show. Her arm was hooked through his. And pinned to the lapel of her dress was a brooch. A silver dragonfly with sapphire wings. My grandmother's brooch. She had given it to me the night before she died. She had pressed it into my hand and said, "This is for your wedding day." I had kept it in my wooden box with my promise ring. She had taken it. She had gone through my things after I left. Kiernan felt me stiffen. His hand moved to the small of my back. "What is it?" he asked. "That brooch," I said. "It is mine. It was my grandmother's." Kiernan's expression did not change, but he walked toward Dorian and Solene with unhurried confidence. "Dr. Kiernan Sterling," he said, extending his hand to Dorian. "I am the director of spinal surgery at St. Catherine's. I noticed your associate's brooch. It is an exceptional piece. Is she a collector of vintage jewelry?" Dorian looked confused. "Collector?" he repeated. "I do not think so." Solene's hand flew to the brooch. Her face flushed red. "Oh, this old thing," she said. "It was a gift from my grandmother, a family heirloom." Kiernan smiled. It was the smile of a predator. "How interesting," he said, "because my wife is standing across the hall, and that brooch belonged to her grandmother. It is a custom piece designed by a silversmith in Galway in 1964. There are only 3 in existence. We have the original appraisal certificate. We have photographs of my wife wearing it at her graduation. We also have a police report filed when it was discovered missing. Should I ask security to verify the serial number engraved on the back of the left wing? Or would you prefer to remove it yourself?" Solene's face went from red to white to gray. Dorian stared at the brooch, then at Solene.
then at me, across the hall. "What is he talking about?" he demanded. "You told me your grandmother left you that." "She did," Solene stammered. "I swear." "Then you will have no problem with the verification," Kiernan said. The security office was a small, windowless room near the loading dock. A uniformed officer examined the brooch under a magnifying lamp. He read the serial number aloud. He compared it to the police report on Kiernan's phone. "The serial number is a match," the officer said.
This piece was reported stolen 6 months ago. The estimated value exceeds $20,000. Solene burst into tears. "It was a mistake," she sobbed. "I found it in the apartment. I thought it was meant for me." Dorian's face was a mask of absolute devastation. "You took it from the apartment," he said. "You went through her things? You stole her grandmother's brooch?" I stepped forward. My cane tapped against the linoleum floor. "You went through my things," I said, "and you wore my grandmother's brooch to a convention where you knew I might be. Did you think I would not notice? Did you think I would just look away? Like I looked away when you cut the budget for the accessibility ramps? Like I looked away when you told me the stairs were good for my bones?" Dorian looked at me. Really looked at me. He saw my tailored suit. He saw the wedding band on my finger. He saw Kiernan's hand resting on my shoulder. He saw everything he had thrown away. "Marin," he rasped, "I am so sorry. I did not know. I did not understand." "You never understood," I said. "That was the problem. I found someone who looks." The police charged Solene with felony theft. Her attorney negotiated a plea deal. Probation, restitution, a permanent criminal record. She was fired immediately. Her name was scrubbed from every project. The architecture community is small. She would never work in the field again. Dorian's firm collapsed within the year. The lawsuits piled up. The insurer dropped their coverage. The bank called in their loans. He filed for bankruptcy. He sold the apartment. He moved back to the small town where he grew up. He was working as a draftsman for a cabinet maker. He was still single. He was still telling people about the woman he had lost, how he had let her slip away, how he would never forgive himself. He was right about the last part. I did not spend much time thinking about him. I was too busy building. Sterling Adaptive Design grew from a one-woman consultancy to a team of 18. We designed accessible public housing. We designed inclusive playgrounds. We designed a rehabilitation center for veterans with spinal cord injuries. Kiernan served as the medical consultant. We worked side by side for 18 months. We argued about corridor widths and ceiling hoist configurations. We stayed up late revising blueprints. We ate cold takeout at 2 a.m. And when the center opened and the first patient rolled through the doors, he looked up at the high ceilings and the natural light. He turned to his mother and said, "This place feels like it was built for me." Kiernan turned to me. His eyes were bright. "We did this," he said. "This is what partnership looks like." Our first anniversary was quiet. We cooked dinner together. Kiernan attempted risotto. He burned it. We ordered pizza. We sat on the roof terrace wrapped in blankets. The stars were out. The bay was a dark mirror reflecting the lights. "I have something for you," Kiernan said. He handed me a small velvet box. Inside was a silver dragonfly with sapphire wings, a perfect replica of my grandmother's brooch. "The original is still in evidence," he said, "but I wanted you to have one to wear on the day our daughter is born, or our son, whichever comes first." I looked at him. "Daughter?" I said. "We are having a daughter?" Kiernan stared at me. His mouth opened. His eyes filled with tears. I had never seen him cry before. Not when he lost a patient, not when his research was rejected, not when his father had a heart attack. But now, tears spilled down his cheeks. He pulled me into his arms. He was careful.
He was always careful with me, but his grip was fierce. "A baby," he whispered. "Our baby, a daughter." The pregnancy was high risk due to my osteogenesis imperfecta. Kiernan assembled a team of specialists, an obstetrician, an endocrinologist, a physical therapist. He installed handrails in every room of the house, warm wooden rails that blended into the architecture. He made me rest when I wanted to work. He brought me tea and oat milk and pillows. Every night, he lay beside me with his hand on my belly. He whispered stories to the tiny life inside. "Your mother is the strongest person I know," he would say. "She designed a world that could hold her even when no one else would. She is going to teach you how to build things. I am going to teach you how to fix things. You are going to be unstoppable." Our daughter was born on a rainy morning in April. Kiernan held my hand the entire time. When the surgeon lifted our daughter over the sterile drape,
when the room filled with the sound of her first cry, Kiernan looked at me. His face was the face of a man who had just discovered an entirely new category of love. We named her Sloane. It means warrior. When Sloane was 6 months old, I received an email from a journalist. She was writing a piece about women in architecture who had overcome personal adversity. She had read about my firm. She wanted to interview me. We met at my office on a Tuesday afternoon. She asked about my childhood and my education. She asked about the accident and the hospital. She asked about Kiernan and Sloane. At the end, she asked one final question. Is there anything you would say to the people who doubted you? To the ones who made you feel small? I thought about the trampoline, the sound of my femur snapping, the hydrangeas wilting in a hospital vase, the map of the world replaced by a photograph of strangers laughing. I thought about the elevator Kiernan had installed, the drafting table he had set up, the brooch he had traced and had remade. I thought about my daughter sleeping in the nursery above my office. I would say, I told the journalist, that I am grateful. Grateful for the fracture. Because bones heal stronger at the point of the break.
And I am grateful for the man who forgot what I was worth, because if he had not forgotten, I would never have learned to remember it myself. That evening, I went home. Kiernan was in the kitchen feeding Sloane mashed sweet potato. She was wearing a bib that said future surgeon, a gift from her grandfather. Sweet potato was smeared across her cheeks and in her hair and somehow on the ceiling. I kissed the top of her head. I kissed Kiernan's cheek. I walked to the window and looked out at the bay. The sun was setting. The water was gold and pink. The city was beginning to glitter. I thought about the girl I had been. The girl who stepped onto a trampoline because she was afraid of ruining the fun. The girl who waited 8 years for a proposal that was never going to come. The girl who believed she was a placeholder because she had never been told she was a destination. That girl was gone. In her place was a woman with titanium pins in her femur and a platinum ring on her finger. A woman who had built an accessible world because she knew what it felt like to be locked out of one. A woman who had learned to stop waiting and start designing. 8 years I gave to a man who never saw me. 1 year I needed to find myself again. And every day since, I have been grateful for the architect who finally designed a world that could hold me. He was not an architect by training. He did not work in steel and glass. He worked in bone and nerve and the delicate scaffolding of the human body. But he understood structure. He understood support. He understood that the right foundation could keep a person standing through anything. His name was Kiernan Sterling. He had read my medical file before our first date. He had removed the flowers from the cafe table because he remembered my allergies. He had installed an elevator in his home before I arrived. He had made me a replica of my grandmother's brooch. He had never once made me feel like a burden. He made me feel like the foundation. And he was my home.